Good dreaming, everybody. Welcome back to a brand new video. A few days ago, I went to go see Star Wars Rogue One. Phenomenal movie. Go ahead and check it out. I 100% recommend it. But it got me in the Star Wars mood, and some new information came up on Star Wars Battlefront 2. They're supposed to be having a single-player campaign, and they're also supposed to have ground-to-space combat, which sounds very interesting. But I want to basically talk about the major flaw and weakness Battlefront 2 kind of has, to why I think it's probably going to do bad again. But in no way, shape, or form am I trying to say that this is set in stone. For the reason is that it's a slim chance that they're going to make the game right, but they can still have that opportunity to do it. And I'm going to basically talk about what I mean by that. Basically talk about what made Star Wars Battlefront 1 such a terrible game, and that's going to kind of lead into why I feel as though Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to kind of also be a bad game, even with these somewhat improvements that they're trying to make to it. One of the main things that the first game had that was very wrong with it was that there wasn't enough content when the game came out. It only had 4 planets. There was only 3 or so game modes that were somewhat enjoyable, and the most noticeable one being Walker Assault was only playable on only 4 maps, and as you can already tell, that can get quite boring within a couple of hours of playing, and there just wasn't enough content there to keep people with the game without having the season pass. And there's no way, shape, or form should a game rely so heavily on a season pass. I should be able to buy a game and enjoy it for at least 4 or so months without having to buy a DLC to enjoy it. Within a day of playing this game, you got bored of it just because of how little content there was. There wasn't any level progression. There was no goal for you to set for yourself to get to. There was no weapons or anything that you could kind of level up towards. And then the customization was so bare bones to where it changed. The only customization there was changing your face from like either a young black male to a mid-aged black male, or a young Asian to an older Asian, and so forth. Like, it was very, very basic, and that was another thing that was wrong with it. Plus, not only that, it's probably one of the most brain-dead games I think I've ever played in my entire life. A 4-year-old could pick this game up and have a positive KD and do somewhat good. It takes no skill whatsoever. There's no skill gap whatsoever. The only skill gap there is those who are regular gamers and those who aren't really gamers, but they picked it up because they're Star Wars fans, which is what they basically aimed it for. I don't feel like they aimed this game as a game, if you know what I mean. It's like they aimed this for people who just like Star Wars and people who just wanted to kind of immerse themselves in that fantasy a little bit more. This doesn't feel like an actual game that happens to be Star Wars. It feels, like I said, just a thing to immerse yourself in a couple of hours and nothing really else. And it's sad to think about, because the original Battlefront games, especially Battlefront 2, had so much content in it, and this game pales in comparison. This game dumbs down every single thing from the original. The vehicles are no longer there for you to just jump into. They become pickups that you have to run around the map and look for. And it becomes, people just start running all over the place looking for the AT-ST or the AT-AT. There's only 2 land vehicles in the game. There's the AT-ST and an AT-AT. That's it. And then you have the usual TIE Fighter and TIE Interceptor and an A-Wing and X-Wing. But other than that, there's nothing else to the game. the whole thing of Battlefield was every game feels different than the last. But and that's how it should feel for a lot of games. But I know what you're gonna say, maybe, oh, but it's not Battlefield. But still, there's no reason why I should go into every single game and every game feels like the game before. It's so basic to the point to where there's nothing there. It's impossible to play this game for hours upon hours with such little content. And even with the DLC, it's still a very bare bones game. It's still just an ATST, an AT-AT, TIE interceptors, TIE wings, and whatnot. It's the same thing, just with a different location and maybe a couple of extra guns, but the guns aren't even that big of a deal in this game. And it's just, it feels like a half-assed game that was sold for full price. And one of the main reasons also that the game, I feel like, is also basic is that the biggest selling point of Star Wars is its heroes and its villains. And Battlefront 2 had many heroes and many villains, and all of them were extremely good. This game starts you off with just 3 heroes and 3 villains without any DLC. And the only hero out of them, out of the 3, that I find good is, or someone interesting, is Luke. Leia and Han Solo are just there. They feel like just a buffed up version of a regular soldier. They don't have anything that makes them feel, to me, as like a hero. And the only hero, and then the villains all feel unique. But once again, after a while of getting them, you're gonna get bored. And I feel like in order for Battlefront 2, and all of this, stated now, the reason why I feel Battlefront 2 isn't going to succeed is because of sequel basically takes the base foundation from its predecessor and it adds to it. It tweaks it and it puts more stuff into it. Just like, Titanfall 2, it is the same premise, double jump, wall run, but they added in a slide, and they added in a little bit more customization, with the Titans and your camos of your character and whatnot. That's what a sequel usually does, and they added more guns and different maps. But the problem is with Battlefront 2 is that Battlefront 1 is just terrible all around. It needs to literally revamp the entire game in order for the second one to be even remotely decent. And knowing EA and resources wise, they're not going to do that. There's no way they're going to do that. So the only possible outcome I see for this game is just its destruction, like the Death Star. It's just going to explode once people buy the game and people start looking at the game, reviewing it, and they're going to realize yet again that the game is just a glorified, beautiful piece of shit. And people are going to probably buy it, play the campaign, and once they beat the campaign, put maybe a couple hours into the multiplayer, and that's it. And they're going to be done. The game's going to die yet again very early. People may come back for the DLC, but then they're going to get off yet again after a few hours. The only way they can make this game be good is they would have to put in the Clone Wars within this game. But that is most likely impossible for the reason of that they keep saying that they're going to be introducing and including the new movies such as 7, 8, and Rogue One, and tying that in with 4, 5, and 6. There's just no room for them to put in the Clone Wars, and it's a shame because the Clone Wars was the best part of Star Wars Battlefront 2. They had all the cool looking clones. They had the different droids. There were so many more vehicles in that time. They had the tanks, the different types of tanks, the different types of ships, and then it was just an amazing game all around with a lot of content. When you go to 4, 5, and 6, even within the movies, there's not that much in there. You see the same blasters over and over again. You see the same vehicles over and over again, just AT-ATs and AT-STs. And that's it. You know, back in the Clone Wars, they had the different types of tanks. They had the different type of transport ships. There was so much variety in that game that it kept you there for months upon months. Even years later, it was still a great game to play because of how much stuff there was in there to do. So, within 2 years, I don't see DICE being able to do so much within the sequel that it can revamp itself. But now, like I said, this is not a definite. There is a small hope that they can make this game good and they can do themselves right by, you know, by doing us wrong the first time. But like I said, I don't know if they're going to be able to, and I don't think that they're going to be able to, but only time will tell. By the time E3 comes next year, that's probably when they'll unveil Star Wars Battlefront 2. We'll get a small glimpse into what it might look like and how it might be. But like I said, I don't feel as though it's going to be good, so I'm not going to be getting my hopes up. You know, as in the Rogue One, I'm sorry, I can't believe in hope because I just don't see much of it. But that doesn't mean that it's not there. So, what do you guys, by the way, think? Do you think Star Wars Battlefront 2 is gonna be a good game? Do you think that DICE can pick themselves up from this huge fall? And are you guys even still playing Star Wars Battlefront 1? That's what I want to know. Leave that in the comment section down below. We can talk about that. But thank you guys for watching the video and sticking all the way to the end. If you did stick to the end, do #rogue in the comment section. And but thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure you smash that like button if you liked it, and if you didn't, do a dislike. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I have a lot more very interesting videos coming out. Me and some other people are working very hard on some very high quality videos. It's gonna be really good, so make sure you stick around for that. But thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye now.